A similar example for being correct and believing something that's not true would be to say that this Drano is fruit juice, and no matter how zealously I believe it to be a harmless beverage, I will suffer the dire consequences of drinking sodium hydroxide. It may sound silly, but this is exactly what people are doing en masse right now. They're drinking poison and calling it a healthy juice. We are in strange and confusing times. Relativism has taken its next leap, causing all kinds of chaos. But there are things we cannot be wrong about, and we get better at knowing what those things are when something important is at stake. 2,000 years ago, in another era when truth had become a relative term, your truth, my truth, therefore it's all meaningless, but power above all, and that was the Roman era. Pilate said to Jesus,
"And what is the truth?"
People will acknowledge the truth when it suits them. Let's just say you bought a lottery ticket. And I'm really embarrassed about this because I have to confess, I don't gamble. I make very serious, well thought out decisions about investments. But that 1.2 billion prize really got my attention. And I thought, I thought all sorts of things. But I ended up losing $2. Now, if these numbers had been the winners, the truth would have been, I won, I get the prize, I didn't win. And so in that case, if I was to say something like, I believe with all my heart, these are the winning numbers, I am the winner, and now I want the prize money, well, of course, the actual winner will not tolerate such a false and stupid statement. He has his evidence in writing, and it would be worth a fight against my willful ignorance and lies. Relativism is a place where we can hide from difficult truths and realities that we don't want to get involved in. Perhaps we don't know the answer. Perhaps we are afraid of expressing our opinions, unpopular opinions. Actually, I find it quite interesting how relativists actually have to affirm a truth they believe when they say truth can't be known. So it's rather self-defeating and chaotic thinking, as I said. Again, if Elon Musk launches a rocket and the scientists don't get the various equations correct, the thing could blow up. The mathematical calculations have to be exactly and absolutely right to avoid a disaster. How about finding out the truth as you've been suspecting that your partner has been unfaithful? This is a truth that you must know and accept in order to make critical decisions about the direction of the relationship. All the belief in the world won't change or impact the truth. So we must take great care with what we decide we're going to believe. I've talked before about my daughter who loved birds and hand-raised them to sell to the pet shops. Well, one day she told me, "Mummy, my birds love me. My birds will never leave me," and that she was going to take her favorite bird, Sarabi, outside with her, and he would not fly away. No matter how hard I tried to convince her of this folly, she was adamant. So I decided, rather than to argue on and on, to let her go and let the lesson do the talking. So she walked outside with Sarabi, who immediately flew off into one of the tall pine trees, to my daughter's screams and her weeping to get the bird back. And so 2 very fortunate hours later, Sarabi was safe and sound back in his cage, and she was a wiser young woman. A similar example for being correct and believing something that's not true would be to say that this Drano is fruit juice, and no matter how zealously I believe it to be a harmless beverage, I will suffer the dire consequences of drinking sodium hydroxide. It may sound silly, but this is exactly what people are doing en masse right now. They're drinking poison and calling it a healthy juice. Not recognizing truth and acting on the knowledge truth reveals can lead to terrible consequences. There is absolute truth in the material and scientific realm, this world that God created for us to inhabit, and there is equally absolute truth in the spiritual and unseen realm. C.S. Lewis, in his Mere Christianity, lays out a logical case for absolute truth. For example, quarreling means trying to show that the other man is in the wrong. And there would be no sense in trying to do that unless you had some sort of agreement as to what right and wrong are. Just as there would be no sense in saying that a footballer had committed a foul unless there was some agreement about the rules of football. Whenever you find a man who says he does not believe in a real right and wrong, you will find the same man going back on this a moment later. He may break his promise to you, but if you try breaking one to him, he will be complaining, "It's not fair." If you're raising children or raised children, you will have observed many times, the righteous indignation of a child who had their toys swiped by their sibling, and the rage because they know their rights were violated. Children don't have to be taught the laws of nature as they used to be known and commonly accepted. So why is it important to not only know the truth, but to believe the truth? Well, that's because our life and our place in eternity depends on it. We have to get this right. If the world is in fact falling away from the evil Langoliers,
Please, I promise I'll be good if you just say thank you.
we have to be on the flight out.
Did we make it? Are we off the ground?
So back to Pilate's saying what is truth and the greatest story of relativism at work when Jesus was on trial. Only days before his trial, Jesus made the unequivocal claim, I am the truth. Now when Jesus said it that way, the I am was emphatic. I, myself, the only one. I am is also how God presented himself to Moses at the burning bush. Tell the people, I am has sent you. So when Jesus equaled himself with God by using that I am, declaring himself to be the truth, the Jewish leaders knew exactly what he meant, and they wanted him dead. So through a series of events in which they lied and they abused their authority, Jesus found himself before Pontius Pilate.
If my kingdom were of this world, my followers would have fought to prevent me from being captured.
Oh, you speak of a kingdom. Therefore, you must be a king. Are you a king?
I am. I was born for one purpose. To bear witness to the truth. All who can accept the truth hear my voice.
And what is the truth?
Pilate didn't wait for an answer to what is truth, and I wonder if it was sort of just like a, what is truth anyway, since he'd made up his mind to hand Jesus back to the mob in order to please them. Pilate's truth was that Jesus was innocent. The Jewish leaders and the mob's truth was that Jesus was guilty. Pilate washed his hands of it and everyone got their truth and everyone lied to get it. And Jesus was vindicated in his resurrection from the dead only days after his sentencing and crucifixion. Jesus was the truth and the truth was unrighteously judged. And as Jesus prophesied, terrible judgment fell on that generation for what they did. The Romans massacred the Jews, scattering the survivors throughout the world, where they remained until just recently when now Israel is a nation again. So I'll leave it there. But if you desire to know truth, know Jesus. Study carefully what he did and what he said. I recommend starting with the words of John, who was one of Jesus' Jewish followers and an eyewitness to his life. John 1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. When the Word took on a human body, then he was given a human name. The name was Jesus. And everyone on the side of truth listens to him.
Biblical truth is the sort of truth that is the precondition for truth, right? Because you think, well, it's religious people make the claim, people of the Bible make the claim, the Bible is true. The Bible is true in a very strange way. It's true in that it provides the basis for truth itself. And so it's like a meta-truth. Without it, there couldn't even be the possibility of truth. And so maybe that's the most true thing. The most true thing isn't some truth per se, it's that which provides the precondition for all judgments of truth. And it seems to me that I can't see any holes in that argument. And I can't see any holes in it from a scientific perspective either, because I think we do know well enough now as scientists that the problem of deriving ethical direction from the collection of facts is an intractable problem. There's too many facts. There's an infinite number of facts. They do not provide an unerring guide for action. They can't. There's too many of them.
Thanks for being here with me today. Don't go without subscribing, and remember to always look for the blessings. They're all around you. Bye-bye.
I am